In this video, we're going to be looking at the double brackets and expanding double brackets to create a quadratic expression. So, for this process, most students have a kind of pattern that they use where you multiply each of the terms together. There's 4 combinations that you can have when you multiply these things together. And we often learn FOIL, first, outside, inside, last. If you want to do that, the first 2, the outside 2, the inside 2, and the last 2. But really, you just have to remember that you make all 4 combinations. So start with that x, and you multiply it with this x, and then the 3, and then move on to the 2, and multiply it by x, and multiply it by the 3. So let's do that in order. X times x would be x squared. Then x times 3, positive 3, so positive 3x. Then positive 2 times x, so plus 2x. And then positive 2 times positive 3 is positive 6. And if you do it in that order by the first, the outside, the inside, and the last, then we always look at these middle 2 and they will simplify. So the x squared and the plus 6 kind of stay the same. And then we just look at these 2 and add them together. So 3x plus 2x is 5x, positive 5x, like that. What happens if we have a minus? Well, it doesn't really change anything, but we have to be a little bit more careful with our minus signs. Okay, because if they're 2 positive ones, all of these will be plus. But in this case, we have to be a bit more careful. So x times x, x squared, x times positive 4, positive 4x, minus 3 times x, minus 3x, and then minus 3 times positive 4. So 3 times 4 is 12, but then the minus times a plus becomes a minus. That's a little bit more tricky, but that's something that comes with practice. And again, we can collect the 2 middle ones together. 4x take away 3x is 1x, or just x. You can have 1x or just x. That's totally up to you. We usually write just plus x like that. Okay. Now, as we progress to the higher levels, sometimes we start to see a little bit of a different setup. Something like this, where we have almost the same bracket, but one is plus and one is minus. We still do the same thing, but something strange happens when we collect the middle 2 together. So x times x, x times minus 3 is minus 3x, positive 3 times x, and then 3 times minus 3 is minus 9. Okay, we have the x squared and the minus 9. And what happens with these middle 2? We have minus 3x plus 3x, or alternatively 3x take away 3x is 0, or 0x. So when you have a plus and a minus, the same bracket but 1 plus 1 minus, this middle 2 terms kind of disappear, and we're just left with x squared minus 9 as our final answer. Okay, this is a special topic for the higher grade called the difference of 2 squares, where we usually kind of go back the other way and have to spot this setup with a squared and then a minus and then a negative number here. But that's just something to be aware of. And finally, we may have something like this, x plus 2 squared. Okay, if you see something like that, the definition of squaring something is to multiply it by itself. So that's what would happen with x plus 2 squared. We would times it by itself. Okay, and then we just do our normal expansion like that. So just something to be aware of. If you see that squared, then we just write the bracket a second time and then continue with our expansion.